You didn't want everybody to hear about what we just did? It was an interesting conversation, actually.
Mike's adventures with bees.
Exactly. There we go. Okay, very good. We're going to go on a call to order the Governor's Personnel Committee of the Transportation Authority. First order of business will be to approve the February 13th, 2025 meeting summary minutes. It's a long time ago. I will make a motion to approve those minutes. Is there a second? Seconded by Mayor David Younger. Is there a discussion on that? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? That motion will pass 4-0 with one third, no, 3-0. Wait a minute. 2-0, yeah. So 3-0-2 with Mayor Reed and delegates who are not with us yet. And then we're gonna do the discussion item, and this is Ms. Backman and Ms. Brainard gonna discuss the legislative priorities of the upcoming 2026 pledge session, of which, boy, oh boy, it'll be interesting. Before we start, December 31st, ELS, what's that an acronym for?
US?
ELS.
Oh, Department of Legislative Services. Division,
Okay.
sorry, of Legislative Services.
Division of Legislative Services.
Yes,
Okay.
sorry about that.
Well, that's okay. That's okay. I just want to process. All right. We are ready. When you are, well, one more thing, before you start, can you also tell us in advance how many pre-filed bills can be filed by on the House side and the Senate side?
So the House and Senate, you can file as the House has not set limits, which they've started not having limits during long sessions. The Senate has set, I know, don't get me started.
That's backwards.
The Senate for the short session, because it's,
Yeah.
The Senate has, I'm trying to remember, actually, I used to write it down. I think they are 20 pre-filed. And don't tell me this, I do have the number, I'll put it in the minutes. I think it's 20 pre-filed and 15 after the pre-filed ends. Yes, but it's been a while since the Senate rules made that decision. It was early in the summer, and I'm sorry, Madam Chair, but they do have limits. The Senate does have limits. And the number 20 keeps in my head.
Right.
But so far, the House has not set limits.
Okay.
It might get changed, but as of now, there are no limits in the House.
Because it's a long session?
As I said, they've started to not actually do that during long sessions because they figure they'll have enough time. But the Senate does it every session because trying to not have too many bills.
Right. Would you like to ask? I have a lot of questions. I'd like to ask questions through your presentation. I'll wait till the end.
Sure. I'm just going to do a couple of highlights, and then I really want to have you all ask questions or give me things that I need to pay attention to. So one of the things I brought with me is the schedule that Madam Chair is looking at of sort of the key dates we see are coming. Again, members are able to start pre-filing in November. And so as those bills get finalized, they will show up on the website, so we'll be able to see things. Then there's crossover, and the day that many committees present their budgets, that's Sunday. And then, Sunny Die should be March 14th, and hopefully they won't have to go long. No question, this is going to be, again, first year of any administration, so that's always interesting. They start on Wednesday, the new governor gets inaugurated on the following Sunday, and immediately has to pop in bills and any amendments to the budget. On top of that, again, result of elections, we'll see both in the House, how many changes we have in seats, and then what that does to committee structure, because there likely will be some changes in the committees because people aren't there or whatever. And then, again, there's no question the budget is going to be the driving issue for them and for you all as local governments, depending on how they are able to either backfill or move forward, both from a policy standpoint and financing in response to federal decisions. So there's just a lot of unknowns about that. Again, Governor Youngkin will present his last budget in December, but it'll be rewritten as every outgoing governor's is, so that's not going to be a big surprise. But outside of the federal piece, and again, mostly around, Medicaid, SNAP, healthcare, rural hospitals, K-12 funding, higher ed funding, everything, come down eventually to the state, and then it's just gonna be the big discussion on what they can backfill, what they want to backfill, what they can backfill, for how long can they backfill, et cetera, et cetera. Other issues that we're hearing, there'll still be a lot of interest in, we'll see bills on housing policy and funding.
Oh,
You know, are they gonna have, again, substantial money to put into the housing trust fund and continue to build that up? There are bills that were from the 2025 session that didn't pass on housing, and you all have seen this, the faith community housing piece, affordable housing
Senator Hoshby
ordinances.
put that up, didn't she? Before? Senator Hoshby put.
She had a version, Senator Valkenburg has had a version. Senator Studefant has a couple of different bills. He's had a bill in to deal with equity firms buying both rental or for sale homes. So there's just going to be a lot of bills, again, some that we've seen before, and I think some new ones. Energy generation, transmission, and costs, absolutely. And then we're going to have a repeat of the data center bills. And again, depending on, there's a real question about the SCC's, Big Corporation Commission, has before it currently overall rate increase proposals, and then also one to create a specific high user tariff rate. And I just don't know if the timing of that will be completed before the session comes together. So I think that also has some influence. So that's sort of big picture broadly what we think they're going to be looking at in terms of things that impact NVTA, because we really only had two things that impacted us. One we're taking care of, which is the head bike study. The other one is there's a bill, and again, you all heard about this from your staff. Remember, Senator Evan had the bill regarding essentially it prohibited a public body from taking action on an agenda item that has been added after the agenda has posted. That's the simplest way to explain that one. The bill caused a lot of confusion, there was a lot of opposition for that and support for it. It ended up being did not pass, but it was referred to the FOIA Council. And so it's been worked on by a bunch of stakeholders, both local government, press association, and the Coalition for Open Government. There is a draft of a revised bill, which now says you still are not able to act on an agenda item that you added after the agenda is posted to the public. You have to post your agenda to the public at the same time you give it to the members, which all of you do. So that's no big change there. But the revised draft has two exemptions. One is
Say resolutions.
Huh?
Please say resolutions.
Well, it actually doesn't talk about resolutions specifically, although that has come up, but it said if you have to act on something because it is time sensitive, you just essentially have to state that. It doesn't define time sensitive, but you could state that. And the second exemption is if your action is not truly a final action, but if you were referring it to another committee, if you're referring it to a study. So that's the state of the bill currently. The FOIA Council meets again on September 22nd. I would say that while the revised version is seen as a bit of a consensus, there still has been a lot of concern expressed about how this is actually going to work in practice, because let's face it, there's still a bunch of loopholes that I think cause more mischief than help the situation that I think Senator Adams is trying to address.
What's their situation? And actually, what made him put this bill forward?
Yeah, I mean, I forget the jurisdiction, but apparently there was a jurisdiction, local government, that put a controversial item on their agenda after it had posted.
Personal.
I didn't say that. And they voted on it, and citizens felt that they weren't there. They didn't have enough notice to be able to speak to it. I mean, you understand why it was a concern to some people, but this having legislation, we're having a hard time finding a version of language that actually works. But anyway, so.
Did you have question about that?
Oh, you asked my question.
Yeah.
The other question I guess I have is why y'all do it loud?
First of all, it's own independent and operating town. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Yeah, so the transportation issues that we saw in 2025 that we'll see again in likely for 2026. So you might remember there were two things that Hampton Roads area posted, the neither bill passed and they were killed pretty quickly. One is that there's a request to increase their regional sales and use tax, which right now is the same as ours, 0.7, to take the remaining 0.3 and use that for two ways. 2/3 of those revenues would go towards primary and secondary roads. Right now, their original dedicated funding that they got at the same time as ours is only used for interstates, bridges, and tunnels. And 1/3 would go towards resiliency of transportation infrastructure. Frankly, they didn't do a great job of sort of exposing that topic, and so the bill died. The second is Hampton Roads Transit. So let me say it this way. Over the years, first WMATA and then VRE, and Railway Express, have secured specific appropriations off the top of the Virginia Mass Transit Fund. The numbers that they're used are what they were traditionally getting from the fund. It was done for WMATA because if you let them stay in the fund, they would, because of their size, they would get all the money. And VRE was having a challenge with being considered along with bus systems, which they really aren't. So, lots of analysis, work was done, worked with DRPT. When the bill came forward like 2 or 3 years ago now for VRE, there really wasn't any problem. It was work. Hampton Roads Transit popped up with a bill this year, 2025, to do something similar for their light rail system, which really only runs in Norfolk, with a number that had no research done, had not talked to DRPT, and it was nowhere near connected to what they have traditionally gotten, which means it would have been a net loss for everybody else. So that bill died. So whether they get their act together and come up with that, we don't know. So that's all and one more thing, I'm sorry. New transportation topics, well, ours, Northern Virginia, DMV moves, SJ28, funding for WMATA, VRE, and all of our local systems. SJ28 should complete their work at a November meeting. DMV moves will hopefully complete their work November, December.
The first phase of the work.
Well, defining
phase,
defining what we were trying to raise, right? And then SJ28 for Virginia would determine how we would raise that money.
Mhm.
I'm just going to say it is now September 11th, and we don't know either of those numbers. But there you go. NVTC has been working, as they always do, and sort of figuring out correctly what's going on inside. And there was a rebaselining issue. If you recall that when we secured state funding to help with the 25 and 26 fiscal year gaps for Metro, the 3% subsidy cap was removed for 2 years. It comes back July 1 of 2026. But NVTC's analysis is showing that there's a structural gap for that starts in FY27. And so there's been some discussion about going to the state again and asking for the region and the state to share, plugging in, rebaselining what the 3% applies to and moving forward. That's a lot of technical and inside baseball.
Because you lost me there, to be honest.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't remember that happening.
It's something that they've been talking about since we got the money 2 sessions ago, I guess 2024. But as they're sort of making the calculation, they want to
2024 session, they got money?
2024 session for 25 and 26.
Where was that? Where did that money come from?
General fund.
It was general fund money? Was it bondable and?
No, and it's one-time money. It was just
One-time money.
there was the operating gaps for 25 and
They took it out
26.
of general fund, huh?
Yes, we actually got general fund money
Okay. For one time.
for one-time funding. So
I don't remember that actually.
yeah, but we've spent a lot of time.
I've been so focused on.
Yeah. I know. So it gave us breathing room to get to through the DMV moves and
Maybe I didn't
28 thing. I mean, we really needed to get that. So because Maryland came up with money, DC came up with money, and our money came up with a split between the state and the compact members.
Yeah, maybe I do remember that.
So that's all I have sort of as an introductory overview of the session. And at that point, floor is, let me know what else to think about. Oh, one other thing I think we're also going to see is there's continued interest to be able to expand the use of photo speed enforcement in particular. Right now, as you recall, it's restricted to school zones and work zones. And there's still a lot of interest. Tried the 25 session, and it just got bogged down over issues of where the fines would go, how much more you could expand, all those. And so that is still out there. There's also been some interest in being able to extend it for use for stop sign violations, photo enforcement. So I expect that there will be interest in those bills again and discussion about them.
Right. So.
Drive through Pittsburgh. We take all optional.
That's hilarious.
We'll take those fines.
Okay, any questions, ladies? I have a lot, so I'll let you all go through first. Ms. Davis Younger?
I had the FOIA, I'm glad I had highlighted that.
Oh, okay.
And asked, so you took care of that.
Okay.
So that's all I had.
Okay.
Was the FOIA.
So we're actually working through a lot of stuff on our own legislative agenda. We finally created a legislative committee and body. So we're going through a lot of stuff on there. So I do appreciate actually you flagging Senator Evans' bill, because I remember having discussions around it, but not in our previous session. So I'm going to bring it up.
Okay. Hopefully by the 22nd, we'll know whether it's dead or whether they came to something. So I can make sure Ms. Bachman sends it around once, because I'm going to go to that meeting and find out what the heck they're going to do.
Okay, so a couple of, you been good?
I'm good.
Okay, so a couple of things. So when they start a new session, do they start completely over, or can they start completely over by picking committee heads and picking like the head of the Senate and Senate president?
Yes.
They can, it all can start.
They could rearrange chairs, they can rearrange members of committees.
So what we see now is likely to stay the same, but maybe not.
I mean, this again, well, the Senate will could have a special election, I should put it that way.
Yeah, and that's exactly where I was.
But
Yeah.
it's a really good question, Madam Chair. I have seen, the expectation is that not much will change in the Senate, but that does not mean it won't change. I have seen it happen.
Yeah, we've seen it happen. Yeah.
There are just discussions that happen and suddenly people get different committee assignments because of whatever reason. So, but we will not see that until they formally convene.
So until we know different, our people from the General Assembly remain the same people.
Correct.
Until we're told something different. Okay.
Correct.
All right. So Governor Ancrum releases his budget on December 17th. Whoever wins, I almost said her name, whoever wins takes office on January 17th, so a whole month later. Depending on what happens, his budget can be completely deconstructed, yes?
Yeah, and frankly, every outgoing governor, that happens.
Yeah.
Even even if they stay in the same party, because the General Assembly will blow it up because,
Because they can.
because they can. Right.
Especially depending on the party structure and what happens there. Are we worried at all that because of what they're trying to figure out, because I know they were down there yesterday, I talked to Delegate Reed, trying to understand how localities were impacted by the SNAP administration and Medicaid administration and all that, and like the Virginia's one of the 10 states where that happens, we administer Medicaid, and that then we're one of the 10 states to administer Medicaid. And of those 10 states, 9 has it fall to the counties, and we're one of those 9. And right now, we think that would be about $15 million for all counties, of which some counties can absorb that and other counties can't. So all those things. Are we worried at all that transportation dollars will be of any type, will be secondary to figuring out SNAP benefits, Medicaid benefits, those types of things? Because it's not unreasonable to think that, but that's
Right.
Yeah. Very scary.
I'm going to say this, between the economy, the rising unemployment rate in the Commonwealth, I think it's going to be an additional challenge to get net new funding through a tax.
Mhm.
Do I think they will raid the transportation trust fund? No.
Okay,
I think
okay.
at least the economy has not gone bad enough, and they do have that huge surplus right now.
Surplus.
It's unallocated funding above revenue expectations.
Except by really
That's where, yeah.
People can know what right there.
They're unallocated funds from collections above projected revenue.
You've heard Billy Kiker say that. Unless you pay your bills, there's no surplus.
Exactly. So what we
So
always
you pay your
call it a
bills.
surplus. It really
Yeah.
is, they brought in more money than projected,
Yeah.
but it just hasn't been allocated yet.
Okay.
It's in the rainy day fund, and then there was the extra reserve fund. So, and again, we'll see if the outgoing governor programs all of that
I
money.
guess I'm asking to some degree, you mean, how much are we pushing for, I mean, first of all, I'm not gonna push for the MBTA money that we hadn't have returned yet, but how much overall are we pushing for new Shop Station money for Metro, knowing that right now the focus is going to be on filling the gaps that are being left?
In my opinion, collectively, we as a region haven't had that discussion yet.
Okay,
I would say stakeholders are continuing to want to finalize the DMV and SJ28 work. We'll see what happens in November, but I think we collectively need to figure out what we think we can actually do, because again, there are a lot of really tough decisions around the budget, again, and that is like cash.
Mhm.
In terms of what we're talking about regarding transit, we're literally talking net new funds, ongoing dedicated funds for transit, which is gonna have to be, just gonna have to be a fee and tax increase.
Right,
And
exactly. I just don't see that happening this year.
yeah, the environment is not great. We're not walking into,
And I'm not saying it's not gonna happen because who's in the General Assembly, who's been the governor, I'm saying it's not happening because we're not gonna have it.
right, it's just
It's just a tough year.
It's just it's the year of your backfilling federal funding.
Right.
People have lost jobs, unemployment rate is going up. It is a fact. It is a fact.
And now, and we got the numbers from the Brookings yesterday. Unemployment rate in Northern Virginia is going up obviously, much faster than the rest of Virginia because of federal jobs.
So cost of living is going up,
Yeah. Our cost of living is going up.
for everybody. And so it's it's a challenging political environment. And so collectively, we'll need to have a discussion amongst ourselves as a region to determine what are our priorities in this upcoming session.
Do you think maybe for us, our best bet this year is just to pay defense?
Yeah, I mean, I would be extremely shocked and surprised if anyone's looking to take away anyone's existing money and dedicated funding, because I don't think we're on anybody's radar.
Okay, well.
Till now.
Well, until we are, until we are,
I've been
right?
talking about it since forever and
I
everyone
know.
thinks it's good, but yeah, but.
Right,
But
and again, the constant reminder that all of you all do as NVTA members before sessions, during session.
Every
Every time you see a member, right, every time you see a member, you all remind them that this cannot happen again.
Yeah.
And I have enough faith in our delegation members that at the very least, they understand they can't lose anything more of what NVTA is able to do.
That's good, because then when you think about it, it was one of our was a Nova delegation member that pushed that through the first time, so.
We had a outgoing governor's problem first, but.
Well, yeah, but it was a Nova delegation member
Yeah.
who's no longer in the General Assembly.
Yeah, and so our delegation knows what you all do and what you're bringing to the
Okay.
transportation infrastructure. And they understand it was, again, as Monica also reminds them, as you all do. It's one thing to take money from us when we haven't adopted a 6-year
Right,
program.
but now we have.
Now we have several.
Yeah.
And you're literally would be talking about projects stopping.
Especially considering how we're faring or not in smart scale.
Thank you.
Not would be the operative word on that.
Which is something that they're all starting to be much more sensitive because
Really?
some of them are hearing it. Monica has certainly mentioned it to several of them.
I mean, it's It's,
And,
Yeah.
once again, we're gonna talk to Delegate Watts, who chairs our delegation, about being in the January set of meetings. To provide them with an update on us,
okay,
and that has to be part of the message that we deliver. It's just FYI. Another, reason number 1012, why we cannot lose any more dollars is because we're not getting anything from the state right now.
and last
Working on it,
question,
but-
does that, if that be, interesting, bill passes that says you cannot add anything to the agenda that went out, the agenda went out, would that apply to regional bodies as well? So would that apply?
It would apply to MBTA, yeah, it applies to, the way it's worded is public bodies,
Public bodies,
and we are
okay.
public.
Yeah, okay, all right.
So, again, it's.
So there's authority committees as well.
Unclear. Again, this is one of the many problems of the bill, because it raises more questions than it answers in a lot of ways.
Well, I mean, it's things like, normally, normally, obviously, I think we all believe that the general public should see our agenda before it goes out. I mean, that's an obvious. But I was on the way here today and somebody called me and said, I need to do a resolution for some kid getting the Eagle Scout or something.
Right.
Can we put it on the agenda and things like that? And it's like, yes, of course,
It's really-
right? So.
Yeah, it's really interesting. There has been among, like I said, press and open government and local government folks about, well, could we list the things that could be exempted? And it was so interesting to watch the back and forth about, oh yeah, that could make sense.
And then they've never been local government before.
And then there was the right, and then there was the right, well, what if we left something off? And so it was just this weird, like, slippery slope, so. Again, I'm very curious to see if we at council can come to agreement on a version of this when they meet on the 22nd.
It's gonna be interesting. It's gonna be an interesting session, especially since, so they sine die less than 1 month after a new government takes office.
Yeah. And the session starts.
2 months, it's 2 months, I'm sorry.
The session always starts the second Wednesday of January, and this year is a year where that date is like literally the middle of January.
Yeah.
So it's just like, seems like it's gonna be like way into spring before this
Yeah,
ends.
no, she didn't, the 17th before the inauguration's the 17th.
Yeah, it's for administration, it is wild.
It is really.
First with Congress actually too, that they, come into session before the person in the White House was sworn in.
Couple days, this is like.
Yeah, I know, it's like, and then
This was
you
real.
like being in charge.
And then many of those secretariats, actually, they don't come in the office until the Monday after the last Wednesday of the month.
Well, okay, so I will say, at the state level, they can actually come in as soon as because it's gonna be a woman, as soon as she's sworn in.
Not all of them, some of them come in.
Well, it depends on it will depend on how quickly the governor appoints their cabinet.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Some of them have been really quick and some have been
Yeah,
really
some
slow.
of them really quick.
Technically, they have to get approved by the General Assembly, but they're acting and they can convene as a cabinet and start.
I didn't know that before the General Assembly approved you. Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Because she's gotta have somebody working.
Yeah, that's true, that's true, yeah. Okay, well, this is all very,
Were there any other issues you think you want me to research or add?
no, I think, like I said, I think we're playing defense this year on any transportation money. And we can't either localities, MBTA, MBTC, DMV moves, none of us can talk more about metro funding and what we need. We just can't. But I just don't think that this year, I think it's just not, I can't see it happening this year, unfortunately. Now, the worst part is I'm not sure this is all gonna get better next year, or the year after either.
No.
Right?
There's never any great time now for a
No, not right now. That was the things that are going on right now.
Yeah.
Let it get worse before it gets better.
Yeah, absolutely.
For this one.
Yeah. And Rob, can you? I think it's on at the end. Yeah,
Yes, get here.
so that's what we have. We'll have a new Secretary of Transportation and possibly DRPT but it'll be, changes what it is. There's always, every 4 years, whether we want to or not, we're gonna change.
Ms. Blackman, is Mr. Servo in a happy place, happy place.
He is, so of course, we're working on the funding analysis as a complement to VDOT's study on the infrastructure gaps and needs for bike ped. We have had 2 regional coordination meetings, and those are the 2 we committed to have because we are on an extremely tight time frame. The technical advisory committee meets next week, so we have sent out a presentation to discuss with them to get their feedback on the recommendations for the funding strategies. And then the following week, we will meet with the Planning Coordination Advisory Committee. We will bring it to the Authority for Information at your October meeting. And hopefully try to get action in November. Again, it's extremely tight. What Senator Servo is looking for, recommended funding strategies, how much we are recommending from each strategy, because looking at the VDOT study, I think it's something $1 billion. So there,
Recommending or just giving, are we actually have recommendations in that way?
there will be recommendations on the funding strategy. Yeah, so yes, there will be recommendations on the funding strategies, and there cannot be just one single recommendation, given that VDOT said it's going to take several $1 billion to address the gaps or the funding needs for bike ped.
Sheesh. Okay. Okay. Okay.
We can add that to the list.
Yeah.
He is very keen on taxing parking spaces.
Yeah, very keen.
That we have discussed that. It didn't rise to the top because there are a lot of challenges. Number one, just getting a complete inventory of the parking spaces in the region, but there are a lot of challenges in trying
Did
to.
you have a committee in the assembly?
Last year, that didn't, you remember there was.
I think that died or something.
It did, I mean,
But it didn't.
it died, and actually it became sort of why we have this, but
Yeah.
it
I mean,
he
so
started with that.
Yeah,
he did.
When he introduced Bill, it actually started with that,
he
you're right.
did. So has something changed?
No, I mean, from the reason why it died in the first place, not that I know of.
But then I
Yeah.
don't,
I mean, again, it's always been an issue of nobody has an inventory.
nobody has an inventory.
Nobody has an
Nobody does.
inventory.
And you're gonna get such big pushback from, but you are,
Yeah,
and businesses and such, you're gonna get such big.
yeah, I mean, again, no one has a running tally of how many parking spaces they have in their jurisdiction.
Well, I have questions because I did speak to him briefly about this, because one of the, we're a suburban community. We have parking lots, it's hard in the residential neighborhoods. Do you know, what's the street parking, was it on all street, like VDOT Street, was it on?
So this is,
Areas?
like, again, this is one of the many reasons why he died. When the discussion about the initial language, which was, he didn't even say street parking, it was a tax on
Public parking.
and private parking spaces.
No, it wasn't public and private, was it?
I think it was private.
It's private.
Oh,
It was
private.
private parking spaces.
Yeah.
And so one of the first questions was, well, do you mean around housing?
Yeah, because we were talking about.
Right.
And how, what,
Equity
right, and
issues.
so that got to be a thing. And so
Or
when you ask,
shopping centers.
and then we got to the shopping centers, like,
Yeah.
this is how you are accessing.
So the Prince William Mall, that's our
Right.
private parking spaces,
Right.
technically.
Technically,
How many of them are there?
right,
Who
who actually owns
who actually owns them?
shopping center.
Right. Right.
The structures can be really interesting.
It absolutely can. Macy's may own their own section and somebody else may, how's that work?
Yeah, so it just got,
And some of the malls allow the parking spaces to be utilized for commuter parking.
yes,
So,
Potomac Mills.
yeah,
yes, exactly.
A lot of
So
issues.
why would you want to tax
Right, why would you want to?
those?
Because it might, and these people do not want to go shopping. You want people in your store shopping. You
Yeah,
don't want
it was,
people to shop on Amazon.
yeah, and I mean, again, it was, again, raised more questions than it answered.
Yeah, and I tried it.
It was private and,
It was, yeah.
and it was, and because you don't have an inventory, you can't get to the other question, which is the number of spaces and the potential tax you would charge raising enough money to make the hassle to get it.
Right, and
You
yeah.
can't answer that question.
Specifically,
because you don't-
this is not an issue of MBTA, MBTC, or any regional body in the entire Commonwealth until he can figure out how to get it for his own assembly. Get it out of get it out of session. Okay,
That's correct.
all right. Cool. All right, we'll be thinking outside the box. I appreciate these thinking outside the box and trying something new, but it's, yeah, but you gotta, it's a lot of things to consider. Okay, great. Anything else, ladies?
Hi.
All right, then I think.
Anything you're hearing on transportation at this point at all, if anything?
Not at the moment.
Okay, and to answer Chair's question, House does not have bill limits this year?
As of yet.
As of yet, okay,
As of yet.
as of yet, okay, thank you.
I thought you said something else before we.
Sounds great.
All right, so with no other information for this.
So not a lot of big changes, I think, to the overall policy statements. I think we'll keep a track of, again, these are the issues, and things like that, defense this year on everything. Coming forward, we'll know if we have to have a specific, go do something with the, I think what happens if we have council.
All right, ladies, then, my gosh, one of your shoes, I just must want your shoes there, but fabulous.
As always.
As always. All right, so we are adjourned then. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I was gonna come into finance. He's out there. He's out there. You gonna get out of your seat?